We are looking at the Pixel phone inside the camera, and you can see here at the bottom you've got several options, and as we scroll along we'll just take a quick look at them. So of course portrait blurs out the background. Night sight is good to be used when in low light situations. You can see video, you can go slow motion or time lapse, and you can experiment with some of the different speeds that are offered here under video, and then different types of modes. So this would be panorama, photosphere, or background. Now when you're in the camera, when you want to take a picture, you hit the shutter. If you were to click on that down arrow, you can see the flash, top shot, timer. If you click on the more settings, you can see the additional ones. These are all things that are seen on a Pixel phone in settings. So you can just change these. If there's no click there, you can click on them and you can change the things like the resolution and what you want to do with zoom, etc. So that is the Pixel phone and the settings for that. Next, I know this looks the same, but this is a Samsung phone. So let's look at the settings of the Samsung phone. Notice that it has some of the same things at the bottom. It has the portrait mode or the photo or video. And notice when it's video, it becomes a red dot inside. And then when you hit more, you can see it has additional things. Hyperlapse, food, those are things that we didn't see in that previous one. Now this one also has some interesting things like AR zone. So with AR zone, you can actually take one of these little characters and you can become that character. And notice as I move my mouth around, it does that as well. Kids love this sort of thing. You might want to play around with scenes and some of the different things. Of course, this is the switch the camera back. That's how you can switch the camera back there. Okay. And so we've done AR zone. Bixby Vision is similar to Lens. And so in this case, you could find some text to translate. We're looking at this book here. And then as we look at this book, we're able to come in on there and translate it. And you can see that's in French. And then if we want to see it again, I think we can click on translate, and then you can actually see it in French. So you can translate. It's just like Google Lens, but it's actually built into the Samsung tool. So we're going back to photo. Now we're going to look at some of these settings. So you can see here, this is the settings icon. You can find all sorts of different settings offered here. As you scroll down, we can talk about some of these options in class, including HDR, shooting methods. So with shooting methods, for example, you can choose whether or not to show you the palm of your hand to take a picture, or whether you want that floating shutter. You can also use volume keys to do certain things. So these are all settings that have to do with your camera, and you can find them by just clicking on the settings icon. Next is flash. If it's yellow, that means that it's on. If it's A, it means it's automatic. This is the timer, so you can set it for 2, 5, or 10 seconds. Next is the ratio, 3 to 4, or different ratios for your picture. And next is filters. So these are different types of filters. So down here you can see warm or cold. You can also modify the strength of that filter. Whatever you set, it will stay that way until you change it again. If you have changed a filter or any setting, it will be yellow. And then when it returns again, it will be, when you bring it back to normal, it will be white. So in this case, filter with your face. You can smooth your face if you want, if you don't want as many wrinkles. So that's a nice option as well. And I think that's about most of the settings there. In addition to the settings in the camera, there's one additional place you can go to set settings for your camera in your phone, and that will be in your regular settings. So go to regular settings, and then scroll down to Advanced Features and click on that, and you can see that there's a number of possibilities that you can do using different parts of your phone, like the side key to open up the camera, or the top key to do the same. You can also use motion, so you might choose to have different ways that you can control your phone with that. Screenshots, so information about the screenshots and how they will be saved and the video quality. You can always click on any of these and change them if you would like. Finally, we're going to look at the settings of the iPhone. To begin with, let's look at what settings are available inside the app for the camera. So I'm going to click on the camera here, and then we can see a number of things which we also did see when we looked at the Android. For example, we see at the bottom of the screen, we see different options. Now, time lapse is one that sort of takes a series of pictures over a long period of time. Slow motion is where you can record something like a dance in slow motion, and then you can go and see it later. Video, of course, is video. Notice that these three all have red shutters. That's reminding you that these are recording. Next, we look at the photo one. So you have different, we'll be going back and looking at some of the settings involved in photo. Portrait, which when you're doing a picture of people, you can include special things like the lighting. So you can sort of slide that around and just look at different types of lighting for that person. And of course, panorama, which allows you to take a picture of an entire room. So those are some of the options. I'm going to go back to photo, and we're going to look at some of the settings at the top. When I'm back on photo again, I can see at the top, I can see that there's a line through my flash, and I can see a 1 second showing, and I see a line through the icon on the far right. To better understand what these mean, you can click on the down arrow, and then these settings will appear down at the bottom of the screen. And you can see that right now it's set for automatic. I can turn it on all the time, which will make it yellow all the time, or I can turn it off all the time. The one we couldn't remember was the lighting. So what sort of lighting do we need depending on whether it's day or night? Right now it's set for auto. Next after that is, let me go back, next after that is the live auto. So do we want it always to be live? When it's live, it means that when you take the picture, it will take a 3-minute video or 3-second video for you. So you can get a little action there. So it's great with pets and kids and things like that. You could leave it on all the time, off all the time, or just automatic, which would mean it would pretty much be on. Next is the ratio, 4:3, square, etc. And then finally is the exposure. So if you're shooting into a very light environment, you might want to bring the exposure down. If you're shooting into a dark environment, you might want to put it up. Okay, and then let's go back here. And notice that when something is yellow, it means that we've changed the settings on it. And you can see at the top of the screen too, we've changed the settings on things. So in order to see what we've changed the settings on, you would look down here at the bar below the picture. All right. Next is the clock. So you could set the timer for 3, 5, or 10 seconds. And then finally is the filter, so you can have different types of filters. Now, not only does the iPhone have settings within the app, it also has a number of settings in the settings itself. So I'm going to swipe up here, and I'm going to go to Settings, and then I'm going to look for my camera. So I'm going to snap on camera. And then we've got a number of options. For one thing, we have what sort of speed do we want to record our video in slow motion. The higher the quality, the more data it's going to use, but the better the film will look, the video will look. So depending on how much space you want to use in your device or on the cloud, you might want to upgrade or downgrade depending on that. Okay, there's also formats. So high efficiency is allows you to conserve file space, but it's not compatible to all devices. And so if you instead choose to use compatible, you'll be using the JPEG format, which is able to be used on all different types of platforms, but takes up a little bit more space. All right. Do you know what burst is? Burst is if you want to take several pictures at once. If you decide to do burst, you can either press down on the shutter and hold it, or you can choose to use the volume up instead. Choosing to use the volume up instead might make it a little bit easier for you, because then you don't have to worry about doing burst by mistake. I'd recommend leaving the scan QR codes on, because it makes it more convenient when you need to get to see one quickly, and then to show the detected text. So that's kind of an AI feature where you can look at something and actually see what the text is. Grid is often used to place your subject in a picture, and so having those 9 lines, you like to put someone maybe where the lines intersect. Level, do you want to keep the picture level? Do you need to see the settings for that? If you mirror the front camera, if you have, say, something that has writing on it, if you are mirroring it, then that would mean that the writing would be backwards. So if you might want to play with that and see what you like best with that. And then do you want to be able to view outside the film or the frame? You can use scene detection when there's things that can be recognized. So in other words, if I have a cat in the picture, it will know that there's a cat in the picture. That if I go back and search, I'd be able to find it. Lens correction, so if there's distortion, it will help fix that. And then HDR, we're going to talk about that in class, but HDR is a feature that allows you to capture a photo that has both light and dark by taking 3 separate pictures, one underexposed, one overexposed, and then one would be the regular one. So that is a little bit about your iPhone camera.